Okay, we're live on YouTube.
So what time did you finish up last night, Jeremy?
Just about 9. When we called roll for the committee, I said, "Oh, Joan's not here anymore. I guess she couldn't take it anymore. Good for her."
My head was pounding.
I understand.
I didn't want to get into it, but they don't realize that decking over, the first thing you have to get is air rights.
Well,
And they're not gonna, they didn't approve air
list.
rights for our school site selection. So, but anyway, it is what it is.
I've got just about 6 now, so I'm going to start the webinar. We should see attendees start to populate now. And the recording's in progress.
Okay, recording.
We don't have a committee chair yet, so we will wait a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Hi, Carrie. The few names I recognized in June, the few names I
Hello.
recognized, I promoted to panelist.
Hi,
If there
Joan.
are a couple of others that you think should be panelists at this point, please let me know.
Good to see you all.
Good seeing you. We are just waiting for a few more guests, and I see our committee chairperson's here now.
Hello,
How you doing, Joe?
I'm well. How are you, Jeremy?
Good seeing you.
So do we have representatives from the DEC and the MTA?
DEP is here. MTA
the
could not make it. They gave me information. And he's actually at another meeting. He said I could text him during the meeting with any question, and he will text me back.
Okay.
Now I need to find my phone. Oh, it's right in front of me.
There isn't going to be a presentation, or is there?
I think one of our constituents, Carrie Moore, has a presentation for what's been on their block, what the condition was on their block most recently. Denise and Karen, is there going to be a presentation from the DEP side? Do you need to share a screen, photos, or
No.
anything like that?
No, we don't.
Okay.
They're just going to answer questions.
Yes.
Okay. Is Kelly Moore here?
Carrie, yes, she is.
Carrie Moore, sorry.
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hello. How much longer should we wait, Jeremy?
I have 6:03. If you want to give it 2 more minutes, see if we can get
Okay.
a few more folks in the community.
Do we have community people who want to speak as well?
Oh, yes, yes. Well, Ms. Morris from 37th Street. I have Cheryl Clouden here from 32nd Street. June and Mandy are from Windsor Terrace. Kermit Place.
Right, Kermit Place.
Hi, June.
Hello.
I'm certain we have other community members. We have 12 attendees right now, and we could certainly allow them to speak at the appropriate time.
Right.
Joe, when you are ready to start, just ask me to call roll.
Jeremy,
I'm ready.
looks like Joseph and I can't pronounce the last name, but from DEP. Get on.
Okay. All right, so folks, I'm going to mute everybody. I am going to call roll for our committee members, just our committee members. When you, committee members, when you hear your name, please unmute yourself, acknowledge that I called your name, and then mute yourself again. If you are a board member but not a committee member, I am not going to call your name, but I will write your name down after we call roll. Joseph Canale.
Sorry, present.
Thank you. Fred Wolf. Nicholas Azadian. Joan Body.
Yeah,
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. Hector, I see your name. You would have to unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Thank you. Nicole Huang. John Johnston.
I'm here.
Thank you. Arelis Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Paul Mack. Gloria Rodriguez Navoa. Victor Swinton. Roll is called, Joe.
Okay, so I guess we'll proceed to the presentation by Carrie Moore.
Great, thank you. Let me share my screen here. Oh, it looks like
I have to make you a co-host in order for you to share your screen. You are now a co-host.
all right, let's see here. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. My name is Carrie Moore. I am the 37th Street Block Association president and live on 37th Street and have suffered from ongoing flooding in my house and have experienced more recently significant flooding damage to my home. I'm here tonight representing many homeowners and residents of our block who have suffered for years with flooding issues that continue to result in no action by DEP to identify the cause or to address the condition of the existing 15-inch sewer main running down our street. We hope tonight that we can share our experiences that span over decades, but also to finally get the action that we as homeowners and taxpayers deserve so that we can live in our homes without fear of flooding. Just to help situate everyone with our particular block, we're located between 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue on a sloped street. The lowest elevation is at 4th Avenue. The highest elevation is at 5th Avenue. And at the high point is Melody Lanes. And across the street is an MTA lot that serves the Jackie Gleason bus depot. The particular issues with flooding at the high elevation of the block goes back at least to 2003, when this very community board was assisting our residents with these same issues. Homes at the highest elevation of the block were suffering from regular flooding in their basements and were seeking help from DEP. And a year went by, and in 2004, a request was made again, noting no action by DEP. And in early 2005, Nick Malter, a resident at 456 37th Street, observed a video camera footage that was done by a private contractor with DEP to check the sewer main, in which damage and blockage from tree roots were observed. And DEP advised an emergency status on our sewer line and stated that it would be replaced. However, today in 2021, the sewer is the same damaged sewer. And up to today, with our more recent catastrophic flooding experiences, I wanted to talk you through a timeline to explain some of the nuances around work that DEP claims to have done and their statements around fixing the situation, which frankly has not been fixed. So I'm just going to briefly walk you through this. On August 11th, this summer, significant basement flooding happened in homes at the lowest elevation of the block, and complaints were filed with 311, but DEP took no action. On August 18th, there was significant basement flooding in homes at the lowest elevation of the block, and complaints were filed again, in which there was an inspection done by DEP, which we believe is mostly the result of the news coverage that happened at that time. I actually wanted to take a moment to show you this news footage because it not only shares some of the specific stories, but gives you a sense of the kinds of damage that was experienced.
Witness News exclusive. Good evening at 5 o'clock. I'm Sade Better-Noir.
I'm David Navarro in for Bill. And neighbors in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, fed up with repeat flooding in their homes. In the wake of yesterday's rains, they were left with ruined furniture, TVs, and maybe worst of all, dozens of doses of the coronavirus vaccine stored in a doctor's basement, now destroyed.
They blame the city and turn to Eyewitness News for help. Mike Marza live in Sunset Park with the exclusive details. Mike?
David and Sade, this is a huge mess. Take a look at what they've already pulled out of this doctor's office here in the floor of this brownstone. You can see chairs from the waiting room. Looks like a file of some sort. There's a blood pressure gauge there. But inside, they have hoses sucking out the sewer water as the cleanup now enters the 12th hour. It looked like a river in Sunset Park.
The water was gushing in like unbelievable, like if you had a hydrant in the basement.
Inside nearly a dozen homes on 37th Street.
You want to come in?
Yeah. Where Stanley Carroll has lived since 1960.
I would say up to here, easy.
Carroll says sewer water started backing up from this basement drain around 4 this morning.
I blame the city because we got a flood last Wednesday when it rained hard, and we called 311. DEP came, they checked, and they said, no problem.
Omida has called this block home for 35 years.
Well, that tell me the city suck. You know, they don't care about the homeowners, and then like we're left handling all the stuff. You know, and like, what are we supposed to do? It's so frustrating. And I'm like, you know, we're here. We want to patronize the city. We want to support them, but obviously they don't give a damn about us.
Next door, medicine swirled in the brown stew.
Very frustrated.
At Dr. David Treatment's basement family practice, he opened 4 decades ago.
Well, this is what's left of the Moderna vaccine.
The water likely ruined around 150 doses of the COVID vaccine.
I mean, that I think is the high watermark.
Across the street, Adam Hayes and his wife just moved in Sunday.
I guess the blessing in it is that we didn't have all our stuff in yet.
Leaving the Lower East Side for what they hoped would be a less stressful Brooklyn.
It is a bit of a shock to wake up in the morning in your brand new house and be like, oh, okay.
The Department of Environmental Protection deployed a camera to check for a blockage or a break in the pipe under the street. Well, the people cleaning up look for answers too.
Well, I want to know that it's not going to happen again.
And as the cleanup continues tonight, these guys will be here cleaning up for the next several hours. As far as the city says that the sewer is running fine now, but the city says DEP will be here tomorrow to make those repairs. They said the people that suffered damage can file a claim with the comptroller's office. In Sunset Park, Brooklyn, Mike Marza, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And we begin with that Eyewitness News.
Okay, so that particular event happened on August 18th. And as they noted in the news story, DEP started emergency work the following days to replace the damaged sewer in a section of the lowest elevation of the block. But then a few days later, we had Storm Henri, in which there was significant flooding in the homes at both the highest and the lowest elevations of the block. And several days later, the new section of permanent sewer at the bottom of the block was complete. And this is an important moment in time because several days following, Storm Ida occurred, in which flooding at a significant level of damage occurred at the highest elevation of the block. And DEP has said, well, we've done our repairs to the lowest end of the lowest elevation of the block. And yet during this storm, it was the highest elevation that suffered. So in theory, if the sewer line was properly functioning for the entire length of the street, we shouldn't have had isolated flooding in this instance. The sources of incoming storm and sewer water are coming through piped connections at the lowest elevations of everybody's homes. So this includes toilets, tubs, and floor drains. It also is coming in through cracks and openings in foundation slabs and pit walls, either from leaks from the sewer line that is getting into the earth and basically coming in as groundwater. And like Stanley's example, openings below our foundation slabs where the water main and house trap pits are located. So just to reiterate, after the sewer line replacement was complete at the lowest elevation of the block during Storm Ida, the highest elevation of the block suffered from significant flooding. The affected homes are highlighted in red on the site plan on the right of the screen. You'll also notice the proximity to the MTA lot. During this recent flooding, and honestly for years prior, complaints have been filed with 311 to only be immediately closed by DEP with no inspections or video camera of the sewer main, and instead we all receive the same comment. It's attributed to a defective sewer. I'm going to share with you now some specific stories from homeowners at the high elevation of the block from these most recent storms. Lois at 485 37th Street experienced over 2 feet of flooding. It was essentially just flowing out of plumbing fixtures in her basement. Nancy and George, whose kitchen is located in their basement, is still dealing with mold and mildew damage to their walls and kitchen cabinetry, along with completely damaged floors. Nick and Jill at 456 37th Street have had over 2 feet of water in their basement from the recent storm. And at my home, we experienced over 1 foot of water that was coming from our basement plumbing fixtures, and similar to Stanley, out of the ground at our foundation slab under the stoop where our house trap and water main come in. You can see from the top image where the water found its way along the water main into our house, and it came up through this pit in significant volumes. And in the bottom image, you see the condition post-storm, which is filled with dirt and sediment that basically came in with the influx of water. And at 451, Andrea and Jamie, who were out of town at the time of the event, had their entire kitchen and dining room filled with water and have since had to replace all of their kitchen cabinets and appliances. There are many more stories from property owners on 37th Street, some of which you may hear tonight. But this is not a new issue for us. We have been suffering for years, and this recent catastrophic storm event has put us all over the edge, and we're demanding action from DEP. We also wanted to share tonight ongoing stormwater issues from the MTA lot at the highest elevation of the block that we believe is also contributing to more significant flooding happening at the high elevation of our street. This is a view of the MTA lot in which you can see there is no surface storm drainage anywhere visible in this lot. Additionally, the entire lot slopes down towards 458 37th Street, Lois's house, in which we believe there may be only one drain hidden under the garbage in this picture that serves the entire surface area of this parking lot. This is the footage from both Storm Henri and Storm Ida, showing the complete lack of legal and proper storm drainage from the MTA lot. This overflow of storm water is landing on Lois's property. The MTA also drilled holes into the wall to, I guess, help with overflow that is dumping illegally on the public right-of-way. Not to mention, you see the piped connection extending over the property line and going into the sidewalk. Where does this pipe go? We have been in contact with Jeremy Laufer immediately following these flooding events, seeking assistance to be able to speak with DEP and the MTA. And in sharing these particular issues with him and them being forwarded to the MTA, most recently on September 29th, the MTA started to clean up their lot. And a vacuum truck was on site for hours, sucking debris out of possibly a drain and from an area in the corner closest to Lois's home. This, however, doesn't confirm that their stormwater management has been properly engineered, and based on its volume, should even be connected to our small 15-inch sewer main, which was never designed to support the kind of volume that is created by this large paved lot. We have many unanswered questions for DEP and the MTA that we are now speaking to you today in order for some action to be taken to identify the cause and to correct it once and for all. The immediate actions we are requesting of DEP is to in-camera the entire length of 37th Street to confirm the existing condition of the sewer main, and that specifically there's no blockage or failure at the high point of our street. And if blockage or failure is confirmed, that they will address it immediately. For the MTA, we have requested that they provide an engineering assessment of their stormwater management system at the MTA lot at 5th Avenue between 37th and 38th Street, and confirm where the existing pipe connection into the 37th Street sidewalk is going. And if the current condition is causing stormwater overburden into the 37th Street sewer line or within the street bed, we need them to take corrective measures immediately. And longer term, since this is something that the city has invested money in recently to understand what we can do to solve these problems over time, is to consider installing a high-level sewer line to help with the additional stormwater management that needs to happen on our street, and consider implementing solutions like water retention systems, either in the MTA lot, providing porous pavement, rain gardening solutions, and addressing this through our tree pits and sidewalks on our street. And also for the MTA to consider addressing their stormwater management solution with a green infrastructure option. We want to be part of building in a resilient block, and at the moment, the damage that we have suffered, it continues and will only get worse over time, that we're asking everyone here on this call for their help. This is only going to get worse. Everyone is living in fear, and we just want to thank you for your time this evening and your assistance to have our flooding issues addressed immediately.
Carrie, that was a lot more extensive than I expected. I appreciate it. Would you send me that tomorrow?
Yes, happy to.
Thanks. Joe, we have representatives of two other locations, if you want me to call on them.
On 37th Street?
No, the two other locations that we specifically asked DEP to address tonight.
Kermit?
One is Kermit and the other is 32nd.
Okay, all right.
So Mandy and June, would you like to share yours and your neighbor's experience as well?
Sure. Hi, I'm Amanda Harris. I live at 51 Kermit Place. This is June Reich. We live together here. We had a meeting amongst our neighbors. We don't have a presentation to give you like that. That was wonderful. But I think if you just replace the pictures of the houses with ours, you would see pretty much the same thing. I think those news reports are accurate for what had happened all over the city, particularly when the rain was as hard as it was during Ida and Henri. We've also been dealing with flooding issues on our block on Kermit Place between East 7th and East 8th Street and all the way up to Ocean Parkway and along East 8th on the corner going up toward the stables. That's been going on since we've lived here, and that's been since 1999. And I'm sure it was before that as well. We have periodically brought these things up to the city to have the sewers looked at. I understand that our sewer is an 8-inch sewer. And we had a lot of building here in the early 2000s, where a lot of new toilets and drains and things in large buildings were built, and additional sewer burden came from those buildings, but no changes were made to the sewer mains along the streets. We also are unfortunately located where Prospect Park Lake overflows, and I'd never in my life seen it overflow as it had with Ida, and it continued a couple of days afterwards. All the water from the Prospect Park Lake that was unable to be absorbed into the ground flowed down the street and into the sewers at the street level, and continued for a couple of days afterwards, flowing down the road. So I think that in combination with the heavy drenched water, the drenched groundwater, the ground that was saturated and was unable to absorb anymore, in a very significant, never before seen burst of water like we had, that nothing was in place to even attempt to control that. So the water that was coming back on us this time was a combination of, some people had some sewage flooding backing up from the combined sewer, unable to monitor it. Everyone on our block pretty much has put in all sorts of mitigation, backflow valve prevention devices, attempting to slow water as it goes into the sewers, different types of fancy ones and less fancy ones, and everybody has a wet dry vac now. It's just something, everybody lifts everything up off the ground. And we do have some brand new neighbors who were in the same situation that some of your neighbors were in, where they were unaware of it. They just bought the house. It was incredibly frustrating. It's very hard to deal with that. And it's definitely having a dirty sewer backflow in your basement the first week or two that you live in a new neighborhood is incredibly frustrating. So I sympathize with them. The other thing that had happened that was new this time was we had flooding from the street. The grates, the drains in front of the corner at Kermit and East 8th Street were completely unable to manage the water coming in. And the water flowed into a corner house that had never seen water before like that, completely destroyed their whole basement. They had at least 3 feet of water in their basement. It went to the street level, filled, just pouring down the basement steps, filled the entire basement. An elderly couple, member of the community board for a long time, George and Muriel Bissell, live in that house. I think they would attest that they've never, ever seen something like that before. They fortunately did not get to their electrical panel, but it did take out pretty much, they're 90 years old, and all of their keepsakes and whatnot they had in the basement were destroyed. And it took a few days to clean that up. They don't have any plumbing in their basement, but their boiler was destroyed, and their brand new water heater was destroyed, which they had to replace at their own expense, as I understand. There was the house next door to them. There was some repairs done to the curb not that long ago by Con Ed when they were doing things along the block. They had taken out, I believe it was them, they had taken the top of the grate where the overflow is where the drains for the catchment basements are. The top one had been blocked with cement. So it only had the bottom grate at the street. That was not able to keep up. And I don't know why that was blocked with cement, and why you look at it, looks like a kid just poured a bunch of cement in the hole. And then they also had taken out a neighbor's drain where they had a sump pump that would pump the water out of there if it ever came up. They blocked that drain for those people, and that renter in that apartment had a flood in there with all of their stuff. So we have talked as neighbors about all the things that we can do. And there's very little that we can do in our small place that we have. We have tiny yards, nowhere to store water ourselves. We are discussing green roofs. We are discussing rain barrels. We are discussing permeable pavements. Everybody, they're talking, anybody who is pouring water, their rainwater, and it's going elsewhere. They're talking about ways to manage as much of that rainwater as they can on their own property, but there's going to be a limit to what we can do. And we need to have a functioning sewer system that can carry that away from the houses, because there's just, we also have to work together. We understand that, because if we don't, if it's just one person pours their water down to the next person, that's not a way to live. And the person who lives at the bottom of the hill is always going to lose. So we need to work together. There is a lot of building going on, and there's a lot of opportunity, because there are plenty of places for these larger bioswales to be put in, for the tree garden areas, the rain gardens. There's permeable paving that can be done. We agree with all of these things, and we know that climate change is making it harder, but we all have to have a committed approach to, and a thoughtful approach to do this, and to incentivize homeowners. Right now, we were looking at the green roof options. There's no opportunity for us to do that because it's too small. There has to be a certain amount of square footage. If you could advocate for ways that you could say, hey, small homeowners can all do their part, and you can do a green roof and we'll help you pay for that. Or you can do a tear up your pavement and turn it into a permeable pavement, put in, whatever those little tiles where the water can soak through. If there was a way, but the city seems to be devoted to doing that, or committed to doing that only on a very large scale, because they probably want to see the effects of it. But that doesn't help the little guys who are living together in close quarters and don't have the opportunity to take advantage of that, because it's going to be a bigger cost to us to put in a green roof and not get any support for that. So I would like to see more of that type of thing. And I guess I don't really have a whole lot more, but I would say David Cuff should be on this call as well. He lives on Kermit. I don't know if he has anything to add. And then Zach and Callie should be on there. They also may have.
We do want to give folks a chance to speak.
Yeah, I'm done talking.
We've had one from 37th. We've had one from Kermit Place. I'd like to give the folks from 32nd a chance to speak first. Elizabeth Iannotti was the first person who reached out to me from 32nd Street. I'd like to give her an opportunity to share the experience on that block. Elizabeth, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi there. I wasn't expecting to speak tonight, but I'm very happy to do so. And I live next door to Cheryl Clouden, who's also on this panel and helped me know about the meeting. So we're on 32nd Street between 4th and 5th Avenues. And at both 32nd and on 33rd, we all flooded. We got about 17 inches in our basement. We had a lot of damage. We have mold. We have to replace the furnace. And there's a giant, what feels to us to be a giant 8-story building being built currently right next door to my house. I'm down at the bottom at the lower elevation on the block. That is from 32nd all the way to 33rd. And so we are both concerned about what has happened to us, what happened to us both during Henri and Ida, and the lack of, we called 311 and they closed cases on us. They said, nope, we've discovered that everything's fine, and they closed cases on us. And we have a lot more use coming to our sewer drains very, very soon. Right now, the building is under construction. And when those families start to move in there, we're going to have a lot more water coming. And of course, this is the direction that things are going in. And we don't know what the city is doing and how we can get help with it. What we do know is that, I just ran into some neighbors on 33rd Street we were just kind of sharing notes about all of the expenses we're incurring, who we can reach to for help, calling FEMA. The only other thing I want to say on this call, and then I'll turn it over to Cheryl, is that for people who haven't found help, we reached out to FEMA, and they came out to that, like, if you haven't gone to disasterassistance.gov, please do. I know that doesn't solve our long-term problem, which is what this call is about, but everybody should be registering with FEMA and just harassing them, because they are eventually responsive. So thanks, for allowing me this opportunity to share my experience.
So thank you, Ms. Iannotti, Elizabeth. Let me just also give a plug for FEMA as well. I flooded from Hurricane Sandy. I got a loan from FEMA. It was a very easy process, and their terms were excellent. So I actually took a loan instead of a grant because it was quicker. But I would also encourage anybody to reach out to FEMA. If you need assistance in doing so, you could reach out to the community board. Joan, I see your hand up, but Joe really hasn't spoken, our chairperson, so I really want to turn it back to him. And we also have DEP who hasn't had a chance to speak yet as well. So Joan, I'll just ask your indulgence and turn it back to Joe Canali.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we have another person from 32nd Street?
We have from each of the locations. I'm happy to let anybody speak, but I thought we'd give one speaker a chance and then perhaps have DEP, and then other folks could share their experiences too.
So we've heard from all of the representatives of the affected areas.
From the 3 areas that reached out to me, yes.
So do we want to get a response from the DEP representative and then listen to other people from the community?
I think it would be good to allow them the opportunity. Perhaps they could address these neighborhoods, and then we could also hear others' experiences and board members as well. There are a couple of hands up.
Okay, so let's go with the DEP response.
So I would invite Karen Ellis and Denise Hubbard. I believe there are a couple of other folks who have joined you as well. Please unmute yourselves and you could address us as well.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Karen Ellis, and I'm Director of Community Affairs for DEP. I thank you for this opportunity to come on and speak with you all this evening. I, like you, experienced Storm Ida. And it was quite a storm. Just so that you are aware, because I did hear everything that was being said, and I know some of the things you've reported, particularly from 37th Street, as you said, have gone on for quite some time. So I want to go through that first. I also want, so that you know, when you reach out to the community board, we have a borough coordinator who is responsible for addressing any questions or concerns that they might have. And that is Denise Hubbard. She's also on the call. And Jeremy works very closely with her and with all of the elected officials to address any questions or concerns that you have. Also with us tonight is our superintendent from our water and sewer operations yard, Joe Ansueta. And he too will be able to answer any questions that you might have as far as technical questions and what was done on your blocks in response to your 311 complaints. So let me just go to first 37th Street. Okay, 37th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue. We did last televise that location on August 20th, in August 2021. We did find at that time that there was a sewer break. That break has been repaired and completed by the contractor. And Joe, if you're on and you can add any additional information to that, feel free to jump in. Since that work has been done, we haven't had an extensive rain. So
I'm sorry, can I correct you there? We are well aware that they have replaced the sewer line at the bottom of our block. And after it was corrected, we had flooding at the top of our street, which means the entire street, like the entire sewer line, no one has inspected it to confirm what is happening at the high elevation of our street. And even once the repair was done at the bottom of the block during Storm Ida, only the homes at the high elevation of the block flooded, which means there's something going on in the sewer at the top of our block.
Okay.
and it hasn't been addressed.
Okay. Now, I understand too, also at that particular location at the top of the hill, there's also the MTA yard. And there is some information, and Jeremy might want to share that information now, because I'm not sure how much of an impact that MTA yard had on the flooding condition that appeared at the top of the hill. But what I can tell you, based on just New York City sewer, New York City sewers are designed to take 1 inch to 1 3/4 inches of water per hour. Storm Ida was an unprecedented storm. The rain fell at 3 inches per hour for a day and a half. The sewers are not designed to take that capacity of water. So as a result of that, we all experienced flooding. Locations that never flooded before experienced flooding because the sewers could not hold the amount of water that fell at the rate that it fell.
We've had flooding at the high elevation at the homes, at the high elevation of our street for years now, going back to 2003, which one is recorded in the community board letter, but even prior to that. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that this has been going on for almost 20 years now, where just local to the top of our block, we are having flooding, not mid-block, not even at the bottom of the street, at a localized area in which DEP has never come out to inspect the line. And when they did in 2005 and found damage, they've never replaced it. We need them to put a camera in the line at the top of the street so they can understand what the actual condition is, because it's not logical that at the top of the block we have flooding and nowhere else.
Joe, are you on? Can you speak to the to where we televised on the block? If you're on, we can't hear you. If you can just unmute yourself.
He doesn't seem to have camera or microphone controls. I don't. Joe, you may need to sign in again, sign out and sign in again. You don't seem to have a camera or microphone working.
Looks like he's trying to connect to audio right now.
Okay, thank you.
He may have left and is trying to get back in, so maybe that will work.
So while we're waiting for Joe, let me tell Carrie and the folks from 37th Street, MTA contacted me. Of course, they are still willing to do a walking tour with folks from the block with an engineer. And they also told me they removed 4 feet of muck from the drain. They are confident that will clear up the problem. I'm trying to get that in writing, that they admit that they caused the problem, because if I can, perhaps that's evidence for a claim folks might want to make.
While we're waiting for Joe to come on, though, what I will say is that if there is a problem with the city sewer, we will come out, we will televise the sewer, if it has not already been done, to ensure that the sewer line along 37th from 4th to 5th Avenue is flowing properly. Joe, you're on?
Joe,
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So part of the scope of the work, which involved the sewer break on 37th Street, what the engineering department would do is do a video inspection of the sewer itself from the top of the block all the way down to the sewer break and beyond that, to get a good look at the sewer to make sure that there aren't any other breaks or defects that there might be in the city sewer. And if there is, then the city would address those issues that they would come across while doing their video inspection. If it hasn't been already, then I will submit to our engineering department to do a video inspection of that high elevation on 37th Street to find the root of this problem.
Yes, we would really appreciate that.
Yes. So having said that, before I do submit an engineering request, I'm going to look into see if one was already done as part of the scope of the work that involved repairing the sewer break down at the bottom of the hill. If it wasn't, then I will submit a request to engineering to do a full video inspection of that combined sewer line on 37th Street.
Joe, I'd invite you to communicate through the community board, and we would be happy to share that with our constituents.
Yes, that's not a problem. I will pass all my information on to Karen and to Denise, and she will share that information with you as well.
Joe, can I also ask, have you all been in contact with MTA regarding the?
No, not at all.
Okay, because I'm not sure.
As far as the issue with the lot, this was not on my radar. This is new to me. There has been some mention of the bus depot, but as far as what took place actually with all this flooding and that lot butted up against that home, that was not on my radar. The only thing that was mentioned to me was something about a bus depot, and from what I understand, it was supposed to be flooding at the intersection, but that's not the case.
While we're on the subject of the bus depot, I'd also be very interested in finding out where the bus depot's connections are to the city sewer system.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that also could be looked into. I mean, you know, it's a very large piece of property. They could have multiple drainage on either side of, that facility. So, but that's something, yeah, that we will look into as well.
Thank you.
The 32nd Street, that was not on my radar, that I could not address. What was the issue at 32nd Street and what were the cross streets?
So the issue is close to 4th Avenue, between 4th and 5th, but close to 4th. As they said, it was similar issues with flooding basements,
Right.
but they are also very concerned that this is happening now before a very large building is completed right next to these properties at the bottom of the block along 4th Avenue.
All right. That's something that I will also have to look into as well. And if, warranted, I will submit a request to engineering to do a full video inspection and to find out as to why there's chronic sewer backups on this street.
So we've gotten those complaints for many years on 4th Avenue and 33rd and 34th. In fact, I believe it's in the 10-year capital plan to replace the sewer at those locations. So with the heavier rain, perhaps this is an extension of the problem that's occurring on 33rd and 34th Streets. And
Gotcha.
if it is, perhaps that project should extend to 32nd as well.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll make note of that. As far as Kermit Place, I myself personally was out at Kermit Place, I don't know, about a week ago. About a week or so ago. The same day, we had somewhat heavy rain in the early hours of the morning. I did a brief walkthrough of Kermit Place, off of East 8th, East 7th, also around the block. I can't remember exactly what street that was, where the public school is. I found, what I found was a lot of catch basins with debris matted over the catch basin grates. That is one of the issues that is contributing to a lot of the street flooding in that area. It's more of a sanitation issue, a street maintenance issue. this has been problematic throughout the 5 boroughs citywide with debris collecting and matting over catch basins. I don't know if everyone is familiar. I don't want to say it's the laws, but a homeowner that has a catch basin in front of their home, a homeowner is responsible for the maintenance of the street 18 inches from the curb.
So with due respect, we actually are aware of that, and neighbors routinely go around and clear those catch basins before storms or during
That's
storms.
great.
That's
That's
not
great.
the issue that we're talking about. This has definitely
Gotcha.
been much more chronic than that, despite our efforts. And one of those catch basins is also plugged with concrete at the corner of East 7th and East 8th Street. That was done by some shoddy work.
Is this recently?
Yeah, within the last year and a half.
Would this have any effect on how it would drain? Does it
Yes,
cause any kind of flooding? Because when I was there about a week ago, these intersections that I'm mentioning, the only thing that I found was along Kermit Place between, I think, East 7th and East 8th. There was a portion of the street which had no curb reveal, and there was standing water for about a half a block in length. Other than that, I was there, I mean, right after it rained. The same morning, I found no issues with flooding in any of those intersections. So if this is something new and developing, then I guess I'll just have to, revisit that location again and, make it a
The sewer at the corner of East 8th and Kermit in front of 61 Kermit Place, that's 61, is got, so somebody it looks like maybe at some point, and this is in the last year or so, that portion of sidewalk that would go up to that corner has been redone, but instead of making a hole underneath the sidewalk to make that opening big enough, has been blocked with concrete. So whoever did that repair or that sidewalk job.
Oh, okay. So in other words, there used to be an
got
open.
the street level grate open. It doesn't even have the flow.
Right.
the
So
opening.
prior to that, there used to be an opening, or let's just say a mouth, an opening to let storm runoff into the catch basin.
Yes,
But now
thank you.
it's been modified.
Yes, incorrectly, and I think as a piece of this problem.
And the pitch, the standing water that you're talking about in the curb, part of that's being repaired now by homeowners. But the pitch of the street is an issue. When they regraded the street several years ago and they did it again, they pitched it poorly, and it has a pool of water at the, in the middle. And that's, but
Again,
the other thing is I would appreciate a camera review of our complete sewer thing along there as well, because there's a house at the middle of the block that always gets a backup, and they don't know why they do that, because they're nowhere near the bottom.
One thing, Mandy and June, couple of these are DOT issues. So the pond curb issue and the pitch of the street are both DOT issues. I'm out tomorrow, but please give me a call or send me an email on Monday, and we'll deal with the other agency on that one.
What I wanted to, in regards to that new development, that building that's being built on 8th.
No, 4th.
On 4th Avenue.
Between 32nd and 33rd.
Okay, New York City requires, we have stormwater mitigation plans, and any new developer building any type of high-rise building is required to come to the agency with stormwater retention plans, because they have to maintain that stormwater on their property. So, and if there's anything, if the city is not putting in a larger sewer, because that's not in the plans, the developer has to build a stormwater drainage system on their facility to capture that excess stormwater, so that it's not impacting the neighbors. So we will look. Do you know, Jeremy, what that address is? Or Carrie, do you know the address of that building?
875 4th Avenue.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I didn't remember it off the top of my head.
So we'll make sure, we will check in the office tomorrow and make sure that they've put in an application and plans for stormwater mitigation so that they can retain the stormwater on their site. And it's
Oh, sorry.
yeah, it's
I
8
just want to
stories.
say that if
right?
they've already put that into action, it's not working. just to note.
I don't know how far the construction it has gone yet on the premises. So let me find out what's there and where they are in progress with the building development and the building maintenance, just the construction of it. I'm not sure where they are. So I'd have to come out and see it, and I'd have to speak with our folks in stormwater management to find out, you know, what applications we have, what plans they've submitted, what we've approved on top of that. And then also, you know, how they're going to accommodate the situation, because I'm not sure if it's 8 stories. Is it, what is it, 30 families in the building? Or I don't know any of that. I'm going to have to find all of that out, and we'll get back to Jeremy. Okay.
So Karen and Denise, I believe there was also information on permeable pavement in the Windsor Terrace community.
Yes. And Denise, let me see, do we have, where is this? I know that we do have some green infrastructure that's going to be coming into your neighborhood. I believe that it's still in design. I'm not sure that we have 100% design on that project yet. Once we do have that information, we will be coming back to you with a presentation, or DDC, who is the administering agency on all of our rain gardens, our green infrastructure projects. We'll be coming back to the community board to present what type of green infrastructure is going to be coming. Jeremy, you'll get a list of all the locations that have been identified. Letters will be going out to all of the homeowners who will be getting green infrastructure in front of their homes, whether it's an infiltration basin, which is a concrete slab. There is no vegetation coming out of it. It will look just like your sidewalk. The rain garden will possibly have, there are 2 different rain gardens, one with rain gardens with a vegetation, and then one with vegetation plus a tree. In other locations, we're also doing some type of porous pavement. So we have to, at this point, I don't have the design plans in front of me for that either. So I couldn't tell you what's coming and where it's going to be. But what I would like you to do, Jeremy, is to work with DDC, and we will be in contact with them as well. And I know that they also attend your community board meetings. So their CCL should be coming to you with a list of the locations and where they're going to be working and when. I'm not sure that
locations are vital. We need to get that out to the community.
Okay, so if there's anything coming as far as stormwater green streets, permeable pavements, porous pavements, rain gardens, they will have all of that in the design and let you know how many is coming and when.
Thank you. Joe, there are a number of hands up, including board members. Would you let me start calling on some of them?
Yeah, do we want to go with board members first?
Okay, so I have Joan Body. Joan?
My question was almost all answered, is about the rain gardens. So when do you answered a lot of what I was going to ask you, but when are you going to come back to us with the plan?
As I said, the Department for Design and Construction is the administering agency. They will be the agency that's coming forth to tell you where they're going to be, when they're going to start, and
when are you coming to us? Next month?
Ma'am, I don't know. Okay, I don't know because
Joan,
I don't
I'll reach out to the other agency, DDC, and find out what they're.
Because it was supposed to start this year. In 2021, it was supposed to start. So it hasn't started yet.
Yeah,
and
so
I can understand that the pandemic has caused a lot of backups, but in the meantime, a lot of people are suffering. I had a problem here too, where Windsor Place, right on the corner of Prospect Park Southwest, that floods all the time. And I go out myself and I sweep the debris from the catch basin. And the broom is also a problem. They impact the debris into the holes where you have to really dig those holes out. If you don't sweep them constantly, they get embedded and they become a clump. So I'd like to give you a little push on this one.
Okay, Ms. Body, yeah, on
these rain gardens.
In the
It was
normal
supposed
rain
to start this year.
Okay,
and
as I said,
it's the end of the year.
At
Year
this
is
point,
almost up.
At this point, I don't know when.
Less than we have. What's this now? Tomorrow, the 15th. We have 2.5 months, and it becomes 2022 already. And then it's not going to start until the spring because no, you can't work when the ground is frozen, and you can't work when it's snowing. So now we're into the summer, and then when does hurricane season start? It starts in June, but no, this year it started in May. So next year will probably start in April.
Ms. Body, what we
have all the floods again.
Ms.
Can I just jump in and say that
to flood again? I don't need one of my indoor garages to flood again.
And this notion that it was an outrageously challenging storm.
All right, only one person speaking at one time, please.
You know, guys.
I'm sorry,
we're patient to a degree, and then we lose our patience.
So
it's not our fault.
Hold on
Okay,
one
I'll
moment.
be quiet now.
No, everybody but Joan. Joan, I was trying to give you the floor.
I'll be quiet now.
All right, so Joan, I will reach out to DDC, the other agency who is supposed to make the presentation to us. I'm not in tomorrow, but I'll reach out to them on Monday, and we'll see if we could get a timetable from them. Elizabeth, we have other hands up. If this is just to clarify something, you're welcome to speak. Otherwise, I'd ask that we go with hands up.
Just one quick note that this idea, I want to debunk this idea that it was Ida that was the problem. It's been happening for years. It's been happening since I moved into my house 6 years ago. So I just wanted to jump in and say that I think it's disingenuous to suggest that this is a one-time, this has ever happened. Thanks.
I'm not saying that this is a one-time. And what is your address, ma'am? So that I can look up the history.
182A 32nd Street.
One more time.
182A 32nd Street.
Okay. We will look back at the history of, and I hope that all of you, when there's any type of conditions where the stormwater, the basins on the corner are not functioning properly, if you're seeing things going on with the sewers, if there's a problem anywhere in the street that's related to DEP, that you call it into 311 and then either notify Jeremy's office, notify your elected official's office, or call us directly. We have a direct line. Our community affairs line is 718-595-3496. And Ms. Hubbard is there. She also will address any emails that you might have. And Denise, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to give out your email address as well. It's dhubbard@dep.nyc.gov. And mine is kellis@dep.nyc.gov. So if you have any problems, any concerns, please put in the 311 complaint, because we use that data as well to identify locations where there are chronic problems or reoccurring problems, so that we know that we have to go back out to address a particular issue. A lot of times, and I'm not saying that you all are not doing it on your blocks, but a lot of times residents are saying that there's a problem, but we don't have any documentation showing that there's an issue on the street. So please utilize that 311 system. Go on your computers. If you can't get through on the phone, which sometimes that's a problem, you can go online to nyc311.org online and put in the 311 complaint.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it goes directly to our yards so that we can follow up. Okay.
All right, so we still have a number of hands up. Folks, please use the hands up function. We'd like to keep order and allow everybody the opportunity to speak. We will get to everybody who has their hand up. John Johnston's next.
Hi, everyone. To address Amanda's and June's issue on Kermit Place, I live around the corner on Coney Island Avenue, and it's not Ida. It's been across the street on Coney Island Avenue from the park, along the park circle. Every time there's a moderate 1 to 2 inch rain, maybe even one, it's like a river that goes all the way down to Caton Avenue. So, I mean, again, and you call 311, DEP closes the 311 complaints. It never goes out most of the time, 90% of the time. My experience, a lot of times they put in, for example, a long time ago, I can give you a really good example. 10th Avenue in Dyker Heights was flooding constantly. DEP authorized a smaller main and had to dig up their whole entire street and put a bigger main in. Sometimes they rush a lot of these jobs and because they want to have a certain amount of money and they need to really figure out what to do. Fine, either no one could handle, but a 1 inch rain flooding, making a river across the street on Coney Island Avenue shouldn't be happening. And the park circle is flooded constantly every time it rains. You have to go all the way around the block. That really needs, the infrastructure is aging. We really need support. And calling 311 is not the answer. It does create a data point, but it's not the answer. Because most of the city agencies, especially now, close these complaints right away without looking for an answer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. On behalf of the community board, I do encourage folks to call 311. That's important to us as well. Natasha Cordero, I have next.
Jeremy, there's 4 questions in the Q&A. Should I just read them? I just wanted to point them out.
I'm going to go to attendees first, and then I'll have you read the Q&A questions.
Okay.
So we're going to attendees. I have Lois Aronow. Lois, you can unmute yourself now.
Hi, I'm here.
And we can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm Lois Aronow. I live on 458 37th Street. My house is the one next to the MTA lot. I've been here 5 years. I guess mostly I'd like to add, and I'd like to thank Carrie for all her hard work putting this together, because this really has been a struggle on our block. This is not the first time that water has come out of my toilet and shower in the basements. This is the second time. The first time was about 2 years ago. I've lived in New York all my life. I know that that Ida was unusual as far as rainfall, but this is something that happens a lot. And as far as the lot next door, I don't know what sort of system they have, because there's water from the MTA lot that is literally dumped into my yard, down the wall and into my yard, separate from what goes on at the 4th Avenue. And I don't know. I know that I live next to a 24-hour facility, but it's trying at times. Somebody bored 4 holes into the front of the wall, and it looks like, Carrie said, that's what it looks like, drainage. They often have to repaint that wall frequently because it gets saturated and the paint peels off of it. So they throw more paint on it. And it bubbles from where all the water collects inside of it. So it is definitely a problem. They don't deal with it. When I moved into this house, this is the last thing. When I moved into the house, I was shown a spot at the bottom of my staircase in the basement saying to watch out for floods here, because it does flood frequently in there. It comes in through the foundation. And I've seen that once or twice since I've lived here for 5 years, but I admittedly, I haven't seen that lately. And that's it. And I'm glad that we're having this meeting, and I hope that we can get this resolved.
Thank you, Lois. I have N. Branton next. You can now unmute yourself.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I'd like to confirm with Carrie Moore that the flooding on 37th Street has been going on for over a decade. I'd also like to add that we have an 18-inch interstate natural gas pipeline that supplies the MTA Jackie Gleason bus depot running up the center of our street. So we are extremely concerned about any time there's the possibility of the sewer break eroding the ground around the pass, around the gas line. I'd also like to point out that in the past week, both National Grid and Con Ed have torn up our street because obviously something is going on related to National Grid and Con Ed that has immediately followed the sewer repair on the lower of the street, on the lower end of the street. I'd also like to point out that we had a sinkhole mid-block roughly 2 years ago that was supposedly repaired after 6 months of complaint, and the entire street was compromised. It was about a 24-inch deep hole, and it is currently sinking again. So these are the things I'd like to have addressed at the same time. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Branton, do you have the address that the sinkhole is in front of?
Not immediately, but I would have to say around 4.
Could you just check tomorrow and email the community board?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you. I have David Cuff next. David, you could unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over here on Kermit Place, and I just wanted to echo what Mandy and June were saying before, and also say, you know, that this has been going on before Henry, before Ida. This has been going on for a while. Any big storm, people along the block have backups that come into their basements. Ida was really bad. It just was a really bad storm that just made everything, just heightened it, but it's a problem that's been existing. This is not a leaf and litter problem in the catch basin. I know that those are issues, but this is not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a volume and capacity issue. And so what I'm curious to know about is Kermit Place in the 10-year capital plan to increase the volume and capacity, or increase the capacity to accept more volume in the sewer line. And along with that, this idea of rain gardens, which, I mean, I don't know exactly how much it'll help, but it would help some. Are we also here on Kermit Place, is there any plan for rain gardens here as well to kind of hold us over while we get on some kind of 10-year capital plan? You know, that would be great. I looked on the rain garden website. I don't see Kermit Place there listed anywhere. So we're not in design. So it was a little discouraging. So I guess the question really is, what is the plan specifically? I know everybody else has problems as well, but for Kermit Place, what I'm speaking to, what is the plan for Kermit Place? Is there ever a plan to come and increase the sewage line, the volume that goes into it, or any other thing to mitigate, and not just say that this is a once in a lifetime storm, because Ida was a once in a lifetime storm that was preceded by Henry, which was also a once in a lifetime storm that came 3 weeks before. So those are the kind of things that I would be interested into hearing about. More of the long-term plan. Is there a plan on a board somewhere, on a whiteboard somewhere, that says, and is Kermit Place part of of the solution? Are we, is anybody thinking about what ways to solve the problem over here? That's all I have to say.
Thank you, David. I don't think there is a plan to put Kermit Place, or I don't think Kermit Place is on a 10-year capital plan. I think it's something that we can speak about, perhaps advocating for you and your neighbors through the community board. And I would invite you and your neighbors, perhaps working through Mandy and June, who know us so well, to discuss an advocacy effort beyond this meeting. Felicia DeVita, I have next, and Felicia, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm on 28th Street, between 3rd and 4th Avenue, and Jeremy knows me well. In 2019, we had a sewer backup here because our check valve blew off because there's so much pressure from the sewer lines that get continuously overtaxed in heavy rains. And we lost everything in our kitchen and living room, everything. And your insurance company is only going to cover a sewer backup. We weren't even able to cover the cost. And we've put in several complaints through the years, and we continue to have this problem here. The sewer systems are outdated. From what we're understanding, they're completely buried underneath the streets because the streets were built up after the sewer lines went in and before the R line came in. Another concern, and this might not be the forum, and I'll probably call you tomorrow, Jeremy, is we have 2 houses here, one of which continues to get sewer back up into their yard and has a landlord who will not take care of it. And there's a terrible odor from sewage in his backyard every time it rains. And we have another neighbor who died in his house, and we didn't discover him for a month. And now we're sure he has water in his basement from the storm. And it smells, and we're all getting these beetles that our exterminators have said that they're from this guy's house, that they didn't clean up the matter, and he doesn't have anybody else in his family. So this house, what happens to this house that, like I said, has water in the basement from the last storm and poses 100 other health issues. And we've called every department possible and can't get anyone here. But again, this is not the reason I originally signed up for this meeting, because obviously 28th Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue, we all have check valves, we all have sub pumps, and we continue to battle these storms and cringe every time we see heavy flooding rain. So I guess my issues are 2-part. I'd love to know who to talk to on either aspects of this, but I'm concerned with the building of these hotels and apartment buildings that our sewer systems are already overtaxed. What's going to happen?
So Felicia, let me just say to you, I'm out tomorrow. The first issue, please reach out to me on Monday. But the second issue is a health condition we should get to right away. Please call my office tomorrow and speak to Maria.
Thank you.
I have Cheryl Clouden next.
Parents don't
Cheryl, you can unmute yourself.
assess beyond grade level.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. I want to echo the sentiments of Ms. Linetti. I live right next door to her, and my whole basement was destroyed. I have the bedroom down there, which my father stayed at, and everything was gone. I had to throw out my washing machine and buy a new one. My boiler, I am not sure if it's working. I have to get someone to come over and check on it. And we just need some help, because every time it rains, I'm going to have an anxiety attack. I worry whether my basement is going to be flooded, and that's not good for my health. I'm not as young as some of the other people on the panel, and we need some relief. In reference to the building that's being built right at the corner of the block, they don't have plumbing as yet, but they also had at least 30 inches or 36 inches of water. So somewhere along the line, the sewer system is not taking the amount of water that's coming down from 5th Avenue. And so we also need the cameras to check the sewer lines and make sure that they're working properly and possibly replace them. Because with all the buildings that's going up, I'm not sure that the lines can, the capacity, it can contain the capacity of water that's coming down. And that's my addition to what Liz has to say.
Thank you. Ms. Clouden and Ms. Iannotti, I would also suggest, as I think you've seen on these other 2 locations, trying to organize with your neighbors and working through your community board and elected officials on these issues. So now would be a good time to organize with your neighbors. Natasha, I see your hand up next. I'm assuming you're going to read the Q&A.
Yes.
Take it away.
All right, so the first question is from Elizabeth Iannotti. Pretty much, Lisa, you already spoke this, I just want to say it on the record. We had so much damage on 32nd and 33rd Streets between 4th and 5th Avenues. Now they're building an 8-story building at the end of our block. Is anything being done to remedy this? What can we do to show the city that we need larger sewer drains? So that would be a question for.
So Natasha, in deference to time here, I think folks who asked these Ms. Iannotti did address that already. Folks who have already spoken, I think if they've asked the same things, I don't think you need to read them again.
Okay. So the next one is from Zachary Finkelstein. I understand that the New York City sewer was overwhelmed by the rainfall from Ida. If that is the case, when will DEP be installing a new sewer that can handle the current heavy rain volumes that we are experiencing and will continue to experience? Let me go to the next one. And just...
Can I ask, which block does Mr. Finkelstein live on?
I don't know if he's still on here. He did not indicate what block he lives on in his question.
He's on Kermit.
He's our new neighbor.
He's our new neighbor.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right,
guys.
so we're going to check and see if there is anything in the capital plan for Kermit Place at this time. And so that everyone is aware, for capital projects to move forward, there has to be a drainage plan study done. When the drainage plan study is done, because what happens are the streets are like a tree, and there's a tree trunk, a trunk main that comes through the street, and then each block is connected to the mains. So if it's something that requires a capital project, everything has to be connected, and so that the water can then go to the wastewater treatment plant. Now, I believe that this is this a combined sewer area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so now to separate that combined sewer is going to require a lot of work. I don't even know if that's an option at this point, but let us find out what's there, what's in the 10-year capital plan for Kermit Place and for this area in Community Board 7, and we'll be able to get back to you. In the meantime, I know that Jeremy, you're doing budget requests at this point. If there are locations in your budget requests for this year, identify them on your budget request list for us so that we have it and so that we can make sure that an investigation is done to ensure that if it's not.
Our list was actually done last night, unfortunately. Okay. However, one of these locations was on the list and has been for some time.
Okay. All right. So I'll be seeing them within the next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, we'll get back to you all on all of these other items that you've identified. Okay.
Jeremy, just one more question from Nicholas Malter. I'm not sure if he's still on, but I guess in the interim, he would like to know if the city can help storm-proof our homes by installing backflow preventers in our homes and considering other measures. And that's Nicholas Malter, who lives at 456 37th Street between 4th and 5th Avenue.
Okay. I know that there were a number of recommendations, long and short-term recommendations that were identified by the mayor's emergency task force following Ida. I know that Carrie had put it up on, I'm sorry if I'm being too familiar, had put it up as well. The report is online, and it gives a list of long and short-term recommendations and goals that the city is going to do. I think that there is something about backflow preventers, but I'm not sure. I haven't read through the entire report yet. But please, if that is something we can take back, we will bring it back to our management to see if that's something. I don't know if that's something the DEP can fund, or who it would have to come through. But this is not the first time that it's been suggested, so we have to see what the agency can do.
Thank you, Karen. Joe, I don't see any additional hands up.
Right. I had a question about the sidewalks that are around the parking lot that the MTA has on Fifth Avenue and also in front of the depot. Who controls the sidewalks? It's the city, right?
DOT.
It's the DOT, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is a city bike kiosk in front of the Jackie Gleason depot. My point being that the city could plant trees, which would reduce the volume of water that's flowing down.
And that would be parks. City trees would be parks.
No, I know it's not the DEP's or the MTA's responsibility, but it seems like.
Joe, reach out to me Monday. I could reach out to the Parks Department on that. I don't know if there's any reason why they would not be able to plant trees by the depot. There might be a reason, but we could always make the request.
It's a very wide sidewalk. It's a very wide sidewalk.
We could always make the request. So I'm happy to do that.
Right. And I would say that, people in the community need, there are a lot of tree pits that don't have trees in them. That is also another way to reduce the volume. Also, front yards of houses. You could break up the concrete. People could build their own rain gardens. I mean, I live on 41st Street between 4th and 5th Avenue. Half the houses, they have paved over backyards. So it seems like there's going to be a funding issue as well. And I hope that in the federal infrastructure bill and reconciliation bill that there's aid to cities to build green infrastructure. So, okay, if there are no more questions or comments, I guess we can conclude the meeting.
Folks, please remember to keep in touch with the community board, and we're happy to share communication that we get from the agency with you.
Please make sure to report all flooding complaints to 311 first. And then you can always follow up with the service request numbers via email to bk07@cb.nyc.gov.
Thank you very much for convening this meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So much for having us.
Everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.